Good morning, everybody. We're live from the birdhouse, and today we're talking about some of the baby birds that you can find in your yard this time of the year. There's lots of reports of them out there hopping around on the ground. Some of them are starting to come to feeders. And so I thought I'd show you some photos of what those baby birds look like and what you can expect coming to your feeders and hopping around in your backyard this time of the year. As always, we love to know who's on. You can throw whatever kind of questions you might have in the comments. We love to know your sightings. You can put those in there too. And you can just say hi if you want to also in those comments. But we will get started here. First of all, this is a little chart here that I found that I love because it shows some of the different fledglings that you can commonly find in your backyard. And I love the little thing that says, "Don't bird nap us," because this is what the fledglings look like when they are hopping around on the ground. So they look kind of defenseless, really. They're not flying yet. They can maybe fly a little bit from the ground up to a low branch, but they're not in their full flight feathers. They haven't grown their full flight feathers. That being said, they're still just fine on the ground. At the bottom, the little quote says, "Don't bird nap us. Grumpy face, a little scruffy, standing or hopping and fully feathered. That's a fledgling. Unless we're injured or in danger, please let us be. Our parents are nearby and feeding us." It's so true. So these are some of the more common backyard birds that you might find right now and what their fledglings look like. There's the northern mockingbird, house sparrow, which is super, super common. I've been seeing a lot of house sparrow babies in my backyard over the past week. Blue jays, we'll start to see some more blue jays, mourning doves. The baby mourning doves have been out there for a while. European starlings, lots of reports on those young European starlings. Lots of them around, a lot of them coming to bird feeders. They look quite a bit different from their parents. They're about the same size, but they're very gray, brown in color. They don't have those speckles yet. They're not iridescent yet. The cedar waxwing will have a little bit of a mask on its face. The northern cardinal is really, really cute. Kind of looks like a tiny version of the female. American robins look a lot like the adults. A little bit disheveled though. Gray catbird, another fledgling. So if you've got fledglings in your yard, I'm curious what kind of things you guys are seeing. This is a fledgling photo that was sent in by Cleon, one of our customers here, and he found a baby bird and it hopped right onto his finger. So they can be kind of bold too when they're young like this. But here's some photos of some fledglings and what they are. This is a house sparrow fledgling, just sitting on the grass, and they can have 2 to 3, sometimes even more broods per year. So you might see a lot of them out throughout the season. Lots of little house sparrow fledglings. Mourning doves in general don't build very good nests, and so their nests are just kind of thrown together. They're not really secured very well, and sometimes those nests will fall apart kind of easily. But the fledglings are a little bit, they look pretty similar to the parents. They don't have all the coloration yet, but there are some of them that are out now and some more that'll be out soon. They can have a couple broods a year. And they don't nest in the best places either. Sometimes they'll just nest right on a porch light or a little structure. So they don't need anything super fancy to nest on. So you might see these guys really close to home this year. So this is a mourning dove. And then American robins, there'll be a lot of them out. Super common backyard bird. This is what their fledglings look like. They're very spotted and mottly in their breast until they get some of that more adult plumage. But lots of robins out there. And this is a photo that had been sent in a while ago. Pulled some of the older baby bird photos that you guys had sent in from over the years. This is from Chris, who sent in this picture here that says these little robins are on the verge of fledging at 2 weeks old. So she's peeking in on the little nest of robins there, and you can see that there's some in the nest. It looks like at least 3. So really fun. And this was from a couple years ago. She sent in this photo of her first robin from that group that left the nest, and that was at the end of July that year. blue jays. Lots of young blue jays will be out in the world soon, and they are really easy to tell that they're blue jays because of their coloration and their size. And they can be kind of loud and squawky as they're begging their parents for food. But even if they're hopping on the ground, just like I said, they should be perfectly safe. The parents are nearby. They'll come and feed them until they are more independent. So, but the blue jays can have 1 to 2 broods a year. So you might see a couple rounds of babies from them. But we're getting some really good reports about juvenile bluebirds out there. Not only are the young out, but the parents are having their second round of babies. They can have up to 3 birds a year. And so we're getting reports on those bluebirds working on their second round of young, which is exciting. This is what a young eastern towhee looks like. This had been sent in by Bob, who said heard an eastern towhee singing and close by, but was surprised to see a young eastern towhee. There were a few around, and Dad was keeping a close eye on them. And then this is fun. This is a chipping sparrow and its fledgling. This is another photo sent in by Bob. The large bird is not the chipping sparrow. Actually, the small bird in the photo is the chipping sparrow, and the fledgling is that of a brown-headed cowbird. And the brown-headed cowbird is a nest parasite, meaning it will lay its eggs in the nest of other birds, and then those birds are the ones that will raise the young of the brown-headed cowbird. So here is a photo of just that, a chipping sparrow, which is kind of a small little bird. It's actually my background right now. This is a little chipping sparrow with its chestnut-colored cap and a black stripe that goes through its eye. They're pretty small, and even though they're small, they'll still raise a larger bird like that brown-headed cowbird. So if you do see some fledglings out there and there's one that's much, much bigger than the other ones, that is probably a brown-headed cowbird that is being raised by that bird. So that is something that happens. So it's a neat photo there. And here's another picture of it. You can see a little bit better there, the size difference between those two. Pretty impressive. This is what the cardinals look like when they are young. Their bills aren't going to have that same bright orange color like the adult male or female will. So they're usually fairly brown, kind of brownish, reddish in color with a gray bill. So that sometimes they look a lot like the female, but really the thing that can help you differentiate if you've got a female or a juvenile is going to be the bill color. And the juveniles of the cardinals is going to be more gray. And then usually their feathers just look a little bit raggedy, kind of like these photos do. They just look like they're growing in still, and they just haven't fully formed. And so this is your juvenile cardinal. They can have a couple broods a year. So they are starting to come out into the world. We've had some photos of them sent in, which is really fun. Haven't heard reports yet of the juvenile orioles coming to feeders with their parents yet, but it's any day now until that happens. This photo was sent in a couple of weeks ago by Mark J, who snapped this photo of the oriole with its nest, and in the nest were these little beaks of the babies sticking out. So this was a couple weeks ago, and they're in the nest for only a couple weeks before they're out into the world. So if you've seen any, if you've had any sightings of the juvenile orioles coming to your feeders, would love to know that. A lot of the times the parents will focus on the nesting. They'll be very attentive to the nest for a while, and you might not see them at your feeders as often. And then all of a sudden they come back and they've got their babies in tow, and they'll show them the food source, whether it be the mealworms or the jelly, and they'll sometimes get a beak full of it and feed their babies right there at the feeders until the young kind of realize, oh, this is where food source is, and they start coming on their own. So any day now we'll start to hear those reports of the juveniles coming to feeders. So if you've seen that, we would absolutely love to know. You can throw that in the comments or give us a call, or shoot us an email or a message on one of our social media platforms. Some other birds to be on the lookout for this summer, some juveniles. This is a young tufted titmouse, and here is one that looks like the baby is probably begging the parents for some food. The babies tend to do that. They'll flap their wings really quickly. They'll make little chirping and squawking sounds in order to get their parents' attention, to get them to be fed. Let's see what else we got here. Some juvenile flycatcher, a juvenile white-breasted nuthatch, a juvenile woodpecker. So juvenile red-bellied woodpeckers, that's what is in this photo here. This is a better picture of it there. They look a lot like the adults as far as their size goes, and they have that speckled back. They're just not going to have the red yet on their heads. So this is your juvenile red-bellied woodpecker. They are out there now. I've been seeing some at our feeders here at the store. So look for those juvenile red-bellied woodpeckers. We're hearing reports of the juvenile downy woodpeckers. They will not only eat the suet and the peanuts and the sunflower hearts, they're also coming to Niger feeders, or if you use our Finch favorite mix, they're coming to that as well. They like the ground up sunflower hearts that are in there. So that's another bird to be out on the lookout for. Goldfinches. You won't see any juvenile goldfinches at the moment yet because they nest very late in the season. So they will nest usually around July is when they start. And so they are one of our latest nesting songbirds that you'll find in your backyard. They usually start to nest when some plants like thistle start to go to down. Once it starts to get fluffy and those seeds start to appear, they'll use that plant down to build their nest. You can find American goldfinches all across the U.S. and they have that potato chip call with their undulating flight. When you see them flying overhead, they're usually making that potato chip call. We do have them here all year as well. We constantly get questions about when the goldfinches are migrating back into town. They are here all year round. They're just not bright golds all year. So this is what they look like in the winter. They're more of a drab color, but we do have them all year round. And when they fly, they do that undulating flight pattern. So they'll have 1 to 2 broods a year, but they start late. So you might start to see them grabbing some nesting material to start their nesting process. Like here's a photo that had been sent in the past by Chris, who snapped this photo, and she says, I thought I'd share a recent photo of a goldfinch gathering nesting materials from one of your nest balls. These are super popular for goldfinches. They build a very fluffy cup nest using all fluffy kind of plant down or this all natural cotton. And so they build a super fluffy cup nest in a tree or in a shrub, usually 3 to 7 feet off the ground. And it only takes them about a week or so to do that, anywhere between 4 and 7 days. So if you're trying to encourage goldfinches to nest in your backyard, there's still time. I will put out one of these nesting balls and they will just grab bills full of that fluffy material to build their nest. There are a lot of thistle plants out there that are in bloom right now. I've been seeing big fields of them. And while they're probably not the most exciting plant that you'd want in your backyard because they have so many thorns on them, they are fabulous for the goldfinches. So not only will they go for the plant down, they'll also eat the seeds from the thistle plants. So this is a common thing you can see with the goldfinches. This is a great photo that Bob had sent in of a American goldfinch getting some plant down and probably some seeds too from the thistle plants. So they'll also use the down from milkweed plants once they start to go to seed. So they'll use different kind of plant materials to build their nests soon. And it's any day now that we'll start to see monarch butterflies. If you've seen a monarch butterfly, absolutely let us know. Those milkweed plants are just starting to bloom. The ones in my backyard are just starting to flower. So usually as soon as those plants start to flower, we start to see those monarch butterflies coming back. And the milkweed is fabulous for them to lay their eggs on. And this is what the caterpillars look like once they hatch. They go through different what are called instars as the caterpillars grow. They'll shed their skin to get bigger and bigger and bigger. And they go through 5 instars is what they're called, 5 growth stages. And it's any day now we'll start to get some of this monarch butterfly activity back in the area, which is exciting. So over the next few weeks, keep an eye out on your milkweed plants if you have them for eggs and caterpillars. And you might see more than just monarch butterfly caterpillars. Monarch butterfly caterpillars are kind of this grub, more of a grub type of caterpillar. They are striped like this. They're the yellow, black, and white stripes. But if you see something fluffy and especially in a big group on your milkweed plant, that is from a milkweed tussock moth. And usually the monarch butterfly caterpillars will just be one caterpillar per plant. Usually those monarchs will try to just lay one egg per plant. That's not the case with the milkweed tussock moth. That moth will lay its eggs in groups. So you'll have a big group of these tussock moths all at once on your milkweed plants. So another thing to be on the lookout for. They're really cool looking. They're black and white and bright orange. One way you can easily identify that you've got a plant with caterpillars on it is look for their droppings, which has a fancy name called frass. And if you're seeing something like this on your plants, look under the leaves because you probably have some caterpillar activity going on. That is everything I have prepared for you guys. It doesn't look like there's any questions or comments today, but we will be back live on Tuesday with another broadcast. So until then, if you snap any photos of anything in your yard, definitely send them over. We'll share them on Tuesday. And until then, have a great weekend and we'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.